All right, good morning, Megan. Today is October 17th, 2020. Please confirm for the record that you are aware that this is being recorded and that you are giving your permission to do this interview.
Yes, you have my permission. I am aware this is being recorded.
All right, would you please give your name in full?
My name is Megan Haughton.
And where are you currently attending school?
I go to Pacific Northwest University in Yakima, Washington.
And what are your plans after you graduate?
So I'm a fourth year, and right now, probably after this meeting, I'm going to hit the submit button on my residency application. And so yeah, my plans for after is to attend at least a 3-year residency in family medicine. Depending on how things go, I might try to do a year fellowship in OB, but we'll see. I might be ready to be done by then, so we'll see.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Can you speak about your current schedule? What do you do on a daily basis?
Okay, so right now, I'm in the middle of kind of like application season as a fourth year. So I just finished 4 weeks of an audition rotation here in Washington. And then I'm actually later today headed off to Idaho from Olympia to spend 2 months in Idaho doing 2 more sets of 4 weeks of audition rotations over there. So basically it depends on what my schedule is. The past 4 weeks, it was a lot of like in the morning, I would work with a resident. Depending on the year of the resident, I would see like anywhere from 2, 3, 4 patients in the morning or an afternoon, go in, see the patient myself, come out, kind of like talk with the resident about my plan, what I would think we need to be doing. And the resident comes in with me, and then we talk about our plan together, and then we go preset with the attending doctor. I go and present to them what I think, what we've decided, and then they come and say hello to the patient, and then the patient visit's over. So that was really fun. I did a lot of that, as well as some mix in with pharmacy and behavioral health. So pretty neat.
Great. Yeah, that's great. So what unique challenge, what are the barriers and obstacles you have come across this year?
Yeah, so it's a very good question. Right now, I appreciate that everything's kind of gotten back to normal, more or less. I was on online classes for 17 weeks, from end of March to end of July. My school did a really good job of responding to us all being taken out of rotations, and had online options and whatever we were on. So I was on pediatrics and surgery. But it's definitely not the same, right? My surgery class, we give each other presentations and watch YouTube videos, and that's not exactly ideal.
Right.
And then also, it was, as a fourth year med student, I'm going to be a doctor hopefully in less than a year, and it just felt weird to not get that hands-on patient experience. But with COVID-19, obviously, trying to stay as safe as possible, wear PPE, everything like that. So I definitely think that since being back, I don't take it for granted, to see patients anymore. Very grateful for any experience I get, and I think everyone's a little bit more prepared for how to incorporate students into helping take care of patients. And then just in general, I know everybody's worried about this as fourth year med students, and as residency programs, all of our interviews are going to be virtual this year, which there's going to be a lot more people applying to a lot of programs because we don't have to travel to go to interviews. But we're all learning together. So I know it's not just the students that are worried about it. I know the residency programs are also have some anxiety about it as well. So
did that impact how many residencies you applied for? The fact that you didn't have to travel, was that an impact for you?
Oh, thank you. For me, no, not totally. Mainly because I'm from the Pacific Northwest, and I kind of would like to stay in this area. I'm also applying to some programs in Colorado because I went to undergrad in Colorado and I really like it. And luckily for family medicine, there's a lot of options for good residency programs. So, but I know that like for some of my colleagues going into other specialties like emergency medicine and anesthesia, that definitely impacted how many they are going to apply to.
Sure. Could you describe how COVID-19 has impacted your current educational institution?
Yeah, so my school, I think, has done a really good job responding to it, having the classes online. I know that for first and second year medical students, they kind of have a hybrid model of classes. My first 2 years, I, we had classes all day, every day online or in person. And now I think most of it's online for like labs, like anatomy labs, and for osteopathic rehabilitative medicine labs, clinical skill labs. They come on in groups of like 20. So there's not too much at once. So I think there's been a lot of really good creative um, figuring out how to make this work for everybody to make it safe.
Sure.
I think it's been hard for people to feel connected, as all of us are when we're all online. So I know that's a little bit of an issue that we're all trying to work with. But overall, I mean, I think for some things it's made it more efficient. I know that like as a third and fourth year student, you're out on your clinicals and you usually have didactics once a week, and those have been able to be online, so you don't have to travel, which is nice. And so there's certain things that have definitely made it actually better.
That's good. That's good. So you've kind of talked a little bit about this already, but how do you see COVID-19 impacting the learning of students and residents in family medicine in general? And what changes do you think will be permanent, and what do you think are temporary?
It's a good question. For me, I think one thing I know I've appreciated as somebody applying to residency is the virtual residency fairs. People have done a really good job of attending to that. Obviously, it'd be nicer to actually go to these residency programs in person, but it has been nice to be able to just hop on at the end of the day and talk to people and talk to programs that, I wouldn't be going to an in-person residency fair for Colorado schools as somebody who's busy in Washington. So it's been nice to be able to, buzz into that. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the future we have a hybrid of some in-person residency fairs as well as virtual. Um, I know that for learning and such, patient care, I definitely feel like some of those virtual visits that now I'm learning to do are pretty efficient. Sometimes the technology isn't perfect, but I will admit that like it is nice to be able to get on and get off.
Yeah.
And I do hope, I'm a very extroverted people person, so I hope, I don't know how well I would have done as a med student in my first 2 years without the connection of my classmates around me all the
Yeah.
time. I'm really close with one of my professors back in Yakima, and she was telling me that the first years are actually doing pretty well because they don't know any better. This is how their education has been. But the second years, it's been a little bit harder because they had their whole first year to kind of, get set up their routine of how they're going to study and what groups they're going to be in. And now they don't have that. So I think the adjustment is a little bit harder than people who just like, yeah, this is how med school is apparently.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know that for me, I definitely thrived a lot off of my fellow peers, and I had tutors and professors, and just, kind of being in the community was really helpful for me with medical school. So I hope we can go back to that.
Sure, sure. So, what skills do you think family doctors need to fight the pandemic? And how do you see medical and residency programs adapting to help their students and residents meet these demands?
That's a great question. I guess I say that before every question, but
Good.
so I think just being flexible. One reason why I'm going into family medicine is because I feel like in general, our specialty is a little bit more flexible in terms of like trying to meet people where they're at or where society is. I know that I've already felt supported by family medicine as a specialty since this all has happened compared to my significant other who's going in anesthesia. And not to diss anesthesia, but it's just been a little bit different experiences we've had based on this. I think being flexible and then just continuing educating people. I think, there's a lot of fear and like misinformation that people are getting about COVID-19. I think one of the biggest things we can do as students, residents, and physicians is just to remain a calm voice with, statistics and facts, and try to listen to our patients, really, understand where they're coming from and be empathetic towards them, but also give them the right information that we have, and, continue to support them through this process. In more than just the physical ways, also emotionally. I know that the amount of mental health issues have gone up a lot since this all started. And so making sure we check in with our patients to see if they're okay emotionally as well and mentally, just to make sure everything is going as best as it can be given the circumstances.
So a whole person approach.
Exactly. The whole
Yes.
person approach. Exactly. Because
yes.
Yeah.
What have you personally learned through this pandemic?
I think what I have learned is kind of meet people where they're at. We all have kind of a different opinion on how to approach this pandemic based on personal experiences. Some people are really, really scared and don't want to go anywhere. Some people are totally, doing what they're going to do anyway, and then everybody in between. So I think it's important to realize that, respect the fact that somebody might have a lot of anxiety and they might not want to hug you or be near you, and it's nothing personal. It's just maybe they have a family member who's immunocompromised, but just as they might not want to be close to you, you also have to respect people's decision who might want to be closer to people or go do what they need to do in order to take care of their mental health. So just continuing just learning from each other, and asking questions with kindness and curiosity rather than judgment, and realizing we're all trying our best through this hard time. It's been really helpful. And then also I've just learned that, yet again, what are my anchors to help me through any process? So being close with family and friends, taking time to exercise, to call people, sleep, all that type of thing.
Good skills to have, definitely. So if you could start this year over again and do things differently regarding COVID-19 care, what would you change?
Good question. I don't know the answer to this. Personally, as a medical student, I wish I could have been more helpful. I wish there could have been a way for me not to be on online classes for 17 weeks. I know I was on an ER rotation when we got pulled off, and the ER, I realize, is one of the most spots where you're most likely to get exposed. However, I felt really useful because I was at a small rural community hospital, and the doctor was actually doing some COVID-19 research, and so he had a lot of work to do. So he said, "Hey, why don't you go see the patient, come back, report to me. I got to work on this, but we can work together." And so figuring out a way to utilize students, whether it be, whatever it is, utilizing students for whatever medical knowledge we do have. And I think depending where you are, some people were able to do that. So that's good. But I know I felt a little bit like I have some medical knowledge. I'm not a doctor yet, but I was, sitting at home on online classes felt a little bit like not ideal. So
Sure. During the pandemic, what do you feel you've done right and why?
I think, like I said, just being, hopefully a calm voice to family and friends and any patients I've gotten to see in terms of the pandemic, and just learning how to, it's a big social experiment, I feel like, as well as, the medicine behind it, but also trying to educate people on how germs are, related to each other, or how you can get germs from other people, and respecting people's boundaries, and just more public health in general. So washing your hands more often. I mean, that's something that seems really simple, but I feel like people are doing a lot better. I mean, I'll be interested to see what happens this season with the flu. I mean, if I had to predict, it'll be less flu because people are doing more social distancing, washing hands, and doing things that we are doing for coronavirus, but that also apply to the flu. So
Great point. Great point. What do you feel that has gone wrong for you and why related to the pandemic?
I just know I spent a lot of time being really frustrated about not be able to help or like really be able out and doing things. And so I think if I could go back, if I still wasn't allowed to, you know, be on classes or doing things, just being present in the moment and be like, it's okay that I'm not doing a whole lot, and it's, you know, take advantage of this time. So I think that would be good. And then, oh, I wish I had studied harder. I took boards at the end of the summer, my level 2s, and I wish I had done a kind of better job of like staying on a more regimented schedule to study. It was kind of hard to study when it was like, you just need to study everything for who knows how long amount of time. So just learning more, again, just like how to make a schedule and stick to it. I think I could have better used my time for applying to residency and studying for boards, but you know, c'est la vie.
Sure, sure. Are there any views on important issues in the specialty related to COVID-19 that we've not addressed here and that you would like to share with us?
Just that, you know, I love family medicine, and I think, you know, we have a really important role as students and residents and future and physicians in family medicine, just to, you know, help take care of the whole patient and help people where they're at. I mean, it is amazing since I've been back in patient care how much people have been like, this has been the worst year yet. And so, you know, trying to learn, you know, I'd like to learn more about like motivational interviewing, and we only have so much time in our appointments, but you know, people do need to come in and have a place to talk or give, you know, some good resources on how to like get through kind of an uncontrolled anxiety provoking time.
Sure.
That would be important. So.
Sure. Well, are there any last thoughts you'd like to add? This is your opportunity to share your thoughts with future generations listening to this recording, or to set the record straight on anything you feel might be important to address.
I would just say keep chugging. It's fun to be part of, you know, it's kind of an honor and a privilege to be part of the medical community always, but especially when something like the coronavirus is happening, and realizing that your opinion means a lot to your peers and to your family and friends, and to just, you know, try to be positive and understanding and a good role model as well, but take care of yourself at the same time, because that's super important. You're patient number one, so you got to remember that.
Good advice. Well, thank you so much. This will conclude our interview, and I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview.
Yeah, thank you so much, Crystal. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.